Welcome back to Plague Scythe Studios, everyone. Ryan here, and I did not expect to shoot a video right now. My upstairs neighbors are being fucking intolerable. It's only like a few hours after coming off of the Fortin Nameless Meshuggah AX8 tone match preset coming out, and that comment section has spawned some fascinating discussion. And this is a topic I've been kind of thinking about on and off for the past year, but it's never really coalesced until now. This is a great catalyst to be talking about this. So today's topic is going to be about guitar tone ownership, the idea of being able to copyright something as intangible as a guitar sound. And as with the rest of the videos in this series, we attack concepts, we attack ideas, we attack arguments. We don't attack people. If I catch anyone in this comment section, in the comment section of any video, but especially the Fortin Nameless video, attacking individuals, attacking accounts, and not their argument, I will ban you. It is that simple. I don't tolerate that bullshit. We are discussing in a somewhat mature manner here. Don't name call, don't be an idiot in general, just don't be that guy. I don't have to do that. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to be a dick back because of someone else being a dick. So with that said, a couple of the comments have insinuated that, at least with this particular tone match, and really because it's no different from any others I've done, every tone match I've ever done is at least somewhat unethical or uncomfortable in their eyes to other parties involved. So the gist of the argument is that I'm using someone else's work to create a tone. In this case, it was Neural DSP who made a plug-in version of the Fortin Meshuggah signature amplifier, as well as a grind pedal, and it included some cabinet IRs as well. Excellent plug-in. Still, please go check it out if you've not. I'm freaking still in love with this plug-in. And I got at least half a dozen, if not more, requests for a channel my size that's like astronomical compared. Like I'll get a comment on every other video, maybe, that'll say, hey, I've commented in the past, can you do this video in the future? It's like, okay, cool. Eventually I'll get to it. In this case, it was every video, every live stream, there were a couple users asking, please, can I get a tone match of this plugin? I said, okay. And I was going to do it anyway, but I decided to make it into a standalone video because of just how much work it ended up being. So I tone match a plugin that someone else did a lot of work on, okay? A couple users are insinuating that I am somehow thieving from them, that I'm somehow taking advantage of their research and development, of all their hard work to capture that tone. Now, the case that I want to build in this video is that not only is that not how it works, that's not how it should work, and it's not how you should want it to work, because if that's the case, we're not allowed to have anything. No consumer products, no nothing. No house, no car, no job, no anything. Everything is a derivative of someone else's work. And somewhere along the line, someone didn't get credit for it. Plain and simple. Do you know who invented the cup? I don't know who invented the cup. We're not even allowed to patent a cup, at least under US laws, because it's a commodity. Now, if you come up with a way to make an anti-spill cup and it has a certain design and that you came up with, it's a genius creation, you can patent that. What you can't do is say, I want this cup to be made of plastic and no one else can use plastic for their cups. It's all mine. You can't do that unless you have created some very specific molecular form of plastic that's anti-slip and somehow defies the law of gravity from keeping you from spilling it. Then you can say, I'm patenting this use in this specific case and I developed this. There's very specific scenarios that you can copyright or patent something, and they're different concepts, but the general idea here is you have to have something very specific, something that you can prove is standalone, something you can prove that no one else can come up with for you to own that under law. Now, of course, a lot of overseas countries are just going to give the US a big middle finger and make it anyway. See, you know, Chinese knockoff electronics, guitars, whatever, you name it. What makes this case a gold mine of irony beyond even what Shakespeare could have possibly written is the fact that both of the companies involved, they're not involved, I'm just using their products, are both very guilty of borrowing other people's designs in their product, with Fractal being the worst. thank God for them, because I wouldn't be able to do half the stuff I do on this channel. I wouldn't be able to get half the sounds. I wouldn't have so much enjoyment that I've gotten out of their products. But at the end of the day, they are using hundreds and hundreds of amp models that someone else is responsible for. And they have, through technology and a lot of patentable means, turned that into a different sound. They did a lot of that without permission of said companies. They, you know, they're using circuits. They're not calling up every amp manufacturer saying, hey, I'm going to use this in here. Hope you're cool with it. Okay, bye. That's why a lot of amps aren't named the real thing. You got stuff like Friedman, which is, but you have plenty of amps that are close. You got 5153. Gee, I wonder what that is. You've got Brit 800. That's a head scratcher too. You don't have the real names because they're not used with permission. Are they doing anything wrong? Not to me. Ethically, maybe you think that is wrong. Don't buy Fractal products then. Don't subscribe to any modern amplifier then, because everything is a derivative of something. We'll go to Neural in this case. Neural does a great job of, so far, working with manufacturers to bring their real analog products to life. The Dark Glass plugin that I've only heard demos of sounds great. The Fortin Nameless I can personally vouch for as being one of the best plugins I've ever played, period. However, even if they have the explicit permission of nearly all immediate parties involved in their plugin creation process, they're still at the end of a long line of product derivation. And that starts, of course, with the Fortin Meshuggah, which everyone knows is what the Fortin Nameless is. By the way, they don't really care about people saying Meshuggah, even though they don't have explicit permission to use it. We all know it is. They do have a problem. They should probably unsubscribe from my YouTube channel. But all Mike Fortin creations, at least mostly, are derivatives of Marshalls of some kind. In this case, it's definitely a Marshall derivative. It looked like one. It used the same freaking font until what I assume was Marshall getting a little upset over that and saying, hey, that's a little too close. You're using the M from a distance. It looks the same. Change it to a different font. Probably a cease and desist. I don't know that. That is entirely conjecture on my part, but something had to have changed. He had to have gotten a little threatened to have had to change it. So that happened. That's kind of one of those consequences. And because it's a Marshall derivative, we should say, by the logic of me doing ethical wrong, that Mike Fortin shouldn't be able to run his business because he's using Marshall clones without the permission of Jim Marshall. Okay, cool. So we put one more guy out of business. Oh, we also put Dave Friedman out of business. We put Reinhold Bogner out of business. We put Splon out of business. We put the Engel Invader. Can't have that anymore. We can't have pretty much any Marshall clone. Can't do that. So that's like a good, what, 20%, 30% of amps in the world gone, erased from existence. Oh, but the Marshall wasn't the original be-all, end-all design. The original design was actually based off of a Fender Bassman, so Jim Marshall owes Leo Fender a lot of credit that he didn't give. By that same logic, because every circuit board in a Marshall amp doesn't say some original design elements by Leo Fender, then not only should every Marshall clone be illegal, every Marshall should be illegal and unethical because it was a derivative of a different amp. We can keep going. We use each other's stuff, right or wrong. That's the way technology progresses. And you can't be okay with that in certain instances and not in others. If you're going to draw a line in the sand, you got to take a step back and look at the big picture. And if what I'm doing is wrong, if I'm making all these band tone matches, if I'm showing you how to use a product whose sole purpose is to copy other gear, if that's wrong, then we're all criminals. We're all wrong. Let me be 100% clear. I'm not advocating for stealing original content or original inventions just because everything is a derivative of each other. Absolutely not. Nothing burns my ass more than seeing a nice original artwork and then within 2 days seeing it on some shitty t-shirt shop being sold for $30, or seeing, you know, original content on YouTube being ripped down and then re-uploaded on Facebook, get 10 times the amount of views, and everyone thinks that guy made it instead. That is heinous. I don't know who thinks they're in the right with that. However, if you see a nice picture of a butterfly and someone spent 8 hours drawing it, you should still be allowed to also draw a different picture of a similar looking butterfly because it inspired you to do so. If we're not allowed to do that, then a lot of things that we enjoy here on the musical or guitar side of YouTube can no longer exist. Cover bands, covers of songs in general, all of these tone match presets, practically anything halfway resembling anything. And where do we draw those lines? Here's a hard rock or metal set. Well, that sounds like Metallica. You can't use that. And that's the problem. This entire scenario mimics the ethical and legal clusterfuck that is content piracy so much. And again, borrowing elements of a guitar amp circuit is not piracy, nor is turning that into a digital form, especially when someone gives their permission. But a lot of the same thing applies. So with my AX8 patch, there are going to be some people who, no matter what I did, whether I made that video, made that patch or not, they weren't going to buy the Fortin Nameless plugin. And make that preset, they download my preset. Someone from afar can point their finger and say, you just took a sale from Neural because they downloaded your preset instead. That's not provable. You can ask them yourself on a case-by-case basis, but that's kind of the same problem you run into with piracy. A lot of movie studios will say, well, this has been pirated from the Pirate Bay 14 million times. We've lost 14 million sales. Not necessarily. Maybe you lost 1 million sales. Maybe you lost 7 million. Who knows? But people that get something that is free doesn't mean that you've lost sales. Because, yeah, if you're going to give me a free CD that I don't want, or I wouldn't pay for otherwise, yeah, sure, I'll take it. What's to lose? It's free. But if you're going to ask me to pay $10 for something I'm not terribly interested in, or I don't think is worth it, I'm just not going to pay $10. You've given something for free in that case, but you didn't lose the sale because I wasn't going to buy it to begin with. Same thing here. For some people, it just wasn't going to buy that plugin. In the same way that most of the people that bought that plugin aren't buying the real amplifier, because buying that plugin is not a lost sale to a real amp. It's a bit easier to see that disconnection when we're talking about a $100 plugin and a boutique $3,300 amp that's only like, what, 100 made? Less than that? And what about other gear manufacturers? I mean, the Tube Screamer has been cloned to absolute death. If you compare all the derivatives of that pedal versus like all other drive pedals, it's probably like a 40-60 split. It's crazy. Not to mention that they've all been, you know, ripped apart and put in digital form on practically every multi-effects unit there is. And what about cabinets? Ooh, this one's a really good one, because used to, the only way you were going to get a cabinet sound was, at least for recording guitar, was a real speaker cabinet and a microphone or two. Now we have impulse responses, which you can get for free, and a lot of people do make for free. And if you get the white knight out there that says, you know what, I'm going to buy a cabinet, I'm going to buy a couple microphones, I'm going to make a lot of different impulse responses based off of different positions, I'm going to upload them all for free and you guys can have them. Did they lose the same amount of sales compared to the amount of downloads they get? If someone downloads that IR pack 400 times, did they lose 400 cabinet sales and 400 SM57 sales and 400 E906 sales? We all know no, they didn't. But because it's there, because it's available, they downloaded it anyway. So my overall point is this: if an individual can't make an approximation, a free approximation at that, of a certain sound with a competing product that they paid for, then everyone in the music industry is a hack and a fraud and a thief, because everyone tries to sound like someone else at some point. Everyone's changing pickups, everyone's dialing in amps, and at some point down the road, someone's going to be left out. Someone's not going to get the recognition they deserve, and that sucks. It blows. Everyone's been at work or in school and you do all this hard work, and then your boss or other group mate takes the credit for it. Everyone thinks they did it. It sucks ass. That's why I try to, you know, give credit where credit is due. Neural did a freaking amazing job on this. Mike Fortin makes amazing amps. Marshall has such a legacy, and the Fender Bassman is still a great amp for what it is today. And I just can't go back to the beginning of time and say all the people who made tubes and circuits and everything. I just can't. And I think the funnier takeaway from all of this is, if I did a shit job, no one would be talking about this probably. If someone says, oh, I dialed in a Metallica sound on my amp, on my Line 6 Spider, and it doesn't sound like them, no one's probably up in arms except that it sounds like crap. So I must have done an okay job, I guess. And one last minor point I'll touch on as a reviewer is that of the US copyright fair use law. And fair use is a fucking joke on YouTube, as I'm sure a lot of you know if you follow critics of video games or movies or music. And that states that you're supposed to be able to use copyrighted material in a transformative state. So if you make a review, you can use clips of the movie, that sort of thing. Of course, the power is slanted completely in the wrong direction to where, say, Jim Sterling makes a review of a garbage game on Steam, that developer can say, he violated fair use, I'm going to put a strike on his video. YouTube will just do it without even looking, without even batting an eye. And most of the time they won't do anything about it. It'll just carry on for 2 weeks. The video will get buried, and then that'll go away. And there's no lasting damage except that developer ended up silencing a critic they didn't agree with for 2 weeks, which is completely asinine. That's the way it works. So for my video, it was transformative. I used names that maybe they didn't want it associated with. I don't know, maybe Fractal Audio or Neural don't want to be compared. Maybe Fractal thinks, oh, we're too good for this little plugin company. Or maybe Neural says, don't even put me next to Fractal Audio, I'll look bad. Whatever the case may be. Out of respect, if either of those parties approached me and said, hey, we don't want to be compared, then I would probably, because I get it, I would probably change some things. As of making this video, I've not been approached, and I'm not going to unless I am approached, but I have every legal right to keep it the way it is. So it's the world we live in. If you don't like it, then call your congressman. I don't know what else to tell you. So that's my view. And on tone, I guess, you can't copyright it. You can't own tone. Hashtag you can't own tone. It's a good thing I'm not a douchebag YouTuber like, or call me at 3 a.m. FaceTime challenge, or else I'd probably tell you to get that trending or some stupid shit like that. It doesn't matter. Again, I'm not trying to grandstand on a big soapbox here about, oh, we have to free the tone. We have to have everyone to have free martial sounds for all. And I don't give a shit. This is about a guy who likes sounding like stuff, inspiring guitar tones, and making content out of it, and making people happy. And if by some rare chance it costs a company $5 or $100, I'm sorry, it ain't illegal. It just ain't. Thank you for watching, and now I'm gonna go and get my Tyvek suit because this comment section is going to be an absolute shitstorm. We'll see you next time. Bye.